They told you to be realistic. They didn't shout it. They didn't threaten you. They whispered it softly, wrapped it in concern, disguised it as love. It came from teachers who had already surrendered, from parents who once had dreams but learned how painful it was to lose them, from friends who found comfort in sameness and called it stability. They handed you a script before you were old enough to question it. Be humble. Be grateful. Know your place. Don't reach too far. Don't want too much, because wanting too much, they said, is dangerous. And you listened. You learned how to shrink yourself. You learned how to round the sharp edges of your ambition so it wouldn't make others uncomfortable. You learned how to trade curiosity for compliance, intensity for acceptance, fire for approval. They called that maturity. Look around you now. Really look. The cities are full. The people are empty. Crowds move in perfect synchronization. Subway to office, office to traffic, traffic to screen, screen to sleep. Faces lit by artificial light. Eyes dulled by repetition. Millions of lives running on autopilot. Convinced that this is all there is. This is not freedom. This is sedation. Society has a fetish for realism. It worships the grounded, the sensible, the safe. Because realists make perfect machinery. They follow rules without questioning who wrote them. They trade hours of their lives for numbers on a screen and call it responsibility. They buy things they don't need to impress people they secretly resent. And when it's over, they disappear quietly, leaving behind nothing but paperwork and a gravestone no one visits. Realism is not a virtue. It is a psychological prison. And the most disturbing part is not that it exists. It's that you walked into it willingly. You locked the door from the inside. And then you convince yourself that the bars were protection. The realist mocks the dreamer because the dreamer reminds him of the part of himself that died. You can see it in their eyes. That subtle bitterness, that reflexive scoff whenever someone talks about wanting more. They say things like, that's not how the world works. Not because it's true, but because it's safer than admitting they were too afraid to try. They are not evil. They are broken. And here is the truth they never want you to hear. Because once you hear it, the spell begins to crack. Every single human being who has ever bent history in their direction had a fractured relationship with reality. Every conqueror, every inventor, every artist, every leader whose name survived the erosion of time. They were all, by normal standards, delusional. Alexander believed he was the son of a god. Napoleon believed he was destined to rule Europe, despite being an outsider with no royal blood. Steve Jobs believed he could will technology into elegance. Nikola Tesla believed visions in his mind were more real than the world around him. Conor McGregor believed he was a champion before anyone had a reason to believe it with him. They did not accept the world as it was presented to them. They saw the same limitations you see, the same obstacles, the same doubt, but instead of submitting to it, they overlaid their own vision on top of reality. They treated the present moment not as truth, but as a temporary inconvenience. And through obsession, through arrogance, through relentless refusal to conform, they forced the world to adjust. This is the part where the realist panics. Because if this is true, then the problem is not the system. The problem is not luck. The problem is not circumstance. The problem is belief. For thousands of years, humanity believed there was a hard biological limit to human speed. A mile in under 4 minutes was considered impossible. Doctors warned the heart would rupture. Scientists insisted the body would collapse under the strain. It was settled science. It was reality. Until one man ignored it. In 1954, Roger Bannister ran a mile in 3 minutes and 59 seconds. 1 second passed the boundary that had imprisoned human performance for centuries. And then something happened that should terrify you. Other men began to do it too. Not generations later, not after some evolutionary leap, but almost immediately. Within a year, dozens broke the barrier. Today, teenagers do it. Human biology did not suddenly change. Muscles did not evolve overnight. Lungs did not expand. belief changed. The limit was never in the body. It was in the collective mind. Science calls this phenomenon the placebo effect. Give a man a sugar pill and convince him it will heal him, and his body will release the chemistry required to make the lie real. Pain subsides. Symptoms fade. Cells respond. The brain does not distinguish between a vividly imagined reality and a physical one. It responds to belief. Think about what that means. If belief can alter biology, then what do you think disbelief has been doing to your life? You wake up every day rehearsing your limitations. You tell yourself you're not talented enough, not connected enough, not smart enough, not lucky enough. And your brain listens. There is a filter inside your mind called the Reticular Activating System. Its sole purpose is to decide what you notice and what you ignore. It deletes most of reality so you can function. And what does it keep? Whatever aligns with what you believe. If you believe the world is hostile, it will show you threats. If you believe opportunity is scarce, it will show you competition. If you believe you are insignificant, it will show you evidence. But if you truly believe that you are meant for something larger, your perception shifts. Doors you never noticed appear. Patterns reveal themselves. People enter your life at the exact moment they are needed. Not because the world changed, but because your filter did. You are not stuck because you lack ability. You are stuck because your mind is programmed for survival, not conquest. You were trained to minimize risk, not to dominate outcomes. You worship your current circumstances. You treat your bank balance as identity, your past failures as prophecy, your present discomfort as destiny. That is the crime. The delusional man treats the present moment as irrelevant. He understands that reality is not fixed, it is negotiated. In the early days of Apple, engineers coined a term for Steve Jobs' behavior. They called it the reality distortion field. Jobs would demand things that seemed technically impossible. Shorter timelines, cleaner designs, solutions that didn't yet exist. When engineers said it couldn't be done, he didn't argue. He didn't compromise. He simply refused to accept their reality. And somehow, under pressure, under obsession, under belief, they figured it out. Jobs was not reasonable. He was not polite. He was not grounded. He was delusional. And because of that, the world looks different now. This is where the lie collapses. The difference between a madman and a visionary is not mindset. It is outcome. Fail with conviction, and you are labeled insane. Succeed with the same conviction, and you are immortalized. Most people never cross that line because they are terrified of the label. They fear ridicule more than regret. They fear standing out more than dying unnoticed. They wait for permission. They wait for credentials, for validation, for someone to tap them on the shoulder and say, "Now you're allowed." That moment never comes. Greatness is not granted, it is taken. To take it, you must accept something uncomfortable. The version of you listening to this is not the one who gets there. The person you are now is the product of compromise, of habits built for comfort, of identity shaped by fear. You cannot fix him. You cannot negotiate with him. You cannot drag him into a future he was never designed to survive. He must die, not physically, psychologically. You must bury the obedient version of yourself. The one who seeks approval, the one who numbs himself with distraction, the one who confuses motion with progress. And you must replace him with something colder, sharper, more intentional. You must become an avatar, not a fantasy, an identity. Someone who acts according to who they are becoming, not who they have been. Someone who moves with certainty before evidence appears. Someone who speaks with weight even when the room doubts him. This is not pretending. This is alignment. When you walk into a room, your body language communicates before your mouth ever opens. The avatar does not apologize for taking space. He does not shrink his presence to be palatable. He does not explain his ambition to those who lack it. He operates. Normal people wait for confidence to arrive after success. The delusional man understands the order is reversed. Confidence
Look, if we simplify
comes first.
here.
Evidence
It can't be
follows.
that
But
simple.
here is where
But it
weak
works.
minds get lost. Delusion without discipline is decay. Belief without work is hallucination. If you sit in comfort imagining greatness while avoiding
Touchdown
effort,
confirmed.
you are
The
not
booster has
enlightened.
landed.
You are sedated by fantasy. The delusion is fuel. Discipline is the engine. The belief gets you out of bed when motivation is gone. The belief keeps you moving when pain sets in. But the work,
Beyond
brutal,
the sands,
repetitive, unglamorous
lies our
work,
destiny.
is non-negotiable. In fact, you must work harder than the realists because they are aligned with the present. And you are fighting the gap between vision and reality. That gap is closed with suffering. And the world will test you. The moment you commit to more, resistance appears. Money disappears. People leave. Comfort evaporates. The realist smiles and says, "I told you so." And that moment defines you. You either retreat back into the cage, or you recognize the pattern. Every myth has a fall before the rise. Every transformation demands sacrifice. Every rebirth requires death. Reality is not solid. It is malleable. It bends to those who refuse to submit. The world does not belong to the careful. It does not belong to the reasonable.
This isn't just a product,
It
it's
belongs
a
to
paradigm
those
shift.
willing to
We're
lose
talking
their
about
mind
exponential
long enough
growth in a
to find their
trillion-dollar
power.
market.
Most
We must
people never
capitalize on
notice
this
the
now.
moment they surrender. There is no explosion, no dramatic collapse. It happens quietly on an ordinary day when they choose comfort over tension, certainty over possibility. They tell themselves it's temporary. I'll do this job for a year. I'll play it safe until I have more stability. I'll chase my dreams later. Later never comes. What comes instead is routine. And routine is the most efficient dream killer ever invented. Your nervous system adapts. Your standards lower without you noticing. What once felt unbearable becomes normal. What once felt unacceptable becomes just how life is. This is how cages become invisible. You don't feel trapped because you've learned to decorate the prison. You add entertainment. You add distractions. You add small rewards that keep you docile enough not to question the walls. But deep inside, something never shuts up. A low-frequency irritation, a quiet rage, a sense that you are living far below your capacity. That feeling is not anxiety. It is instinct. Every organism is designed to expand until it meets resistance. A plant grows until the pot limits its roots. An animal pushes territory until another challenges it. Human beings are no different, except we are trained to ignore the signal. The discomfort you feel is not a flaw. It is a compass. But instead of following it, you suppress it. You numb it with screens, substances, noise, and busyness. You call it stress. You call it adulthood. And slowly, the gap between who you are and who you could be becomes unbearable. That gap is where bitterness is born. This is why so many people become hostile toward ambition, why they mock belief, why they attack anyone who dares to speak with certainty. It is not because they are wise. It is because they are haunted. They are haunted by the life they didn't live. You can hear it in their language. Be careful. Don't get your hopes up. People like us don't do things like that. People like us. That phrase alone has buried more potential than war. Because the moment you accept an identity, your behavior obeys it. If you believe you are someone who plays it safe, risk feels immoral. If you believe you are not that kind of person, growth feels unnatural. Identity is the operating system. Behavior is just the output. And this is why discipline alone is never enough. You can force yourself to act against your identity for a while, but eventually you snap back. This is why so many people start strong and then disappear. They try to build a new life with an old self. It never lasts. If you want a different outcome, you need a different internal reference point. You need a new baseline for what feels normal. This is where delusion becomes strategic. The delusional man does not wait for permission to see himself differently. He does not wait for the world to confirm his worth. He decides first. Decision precedes evidence. This is what terrifies people, because it removes all excuses. If identity is a choice, then mediocrity is no longer tragic, it's voluntary. And that realization is too heavy for most minds. So they cling to realism like a life raft. They call it wisdom so they don't have to call it fear. But fear does not disappear when you obey it. It just grows more subtle. It disguises itself as logic, as responsibility, as being practical. Meanwhile, the delusional man is doing something radical. He is acting as if the future is already decided. Not in a mystical sense. In a behavioral one, his posture changes. His speech sharpens. His tolerance for bullshit evaporates. He no longer negotiates with distraction. He no longer explains himself to those who cannot follow. He has too much distance to cover. This is not arrogance. It is prioritization. Time becomes sacred when you realize you are building something that does not yet exist. Every wasted hour is theft from your future self. And so your standards rise. You stop asking, how do I feel today? And start asking, what would the man I am becoming do next? That question alone destroys laziness. Because laziness is not a lack of energy. It is a lack of identity. When you know exactly who you are supposed to be, action becomes inevitable. There is friction, yes. There is pain, resistance, exhaustion. But there is no confusion. Confusion is what drains people, not work. The realist is confused because he is torn between comfort and desire, between safety and expansion, between what he wants and what he allows himself to want. The delusional man resolves the conflict by choosing one side completely. This is where sacrifice enters. You do not balance your way into greatness. You do not optimize your comfort and stumble into domination. You trade. You trade short-term pleasure for long-term leverage. You trade approval for autonomy. You trade ease for meaning. And people will notice. They will say you've changed. They will say you're intense. They will say you're obsessed. They are right. Obsessed people build the world everyone else lives in. Every structure around you, every company, system, invention exists because someone cared more than was reasonable. Reasonable people consume. Unreasonable people create. And creation requires isolation. There will be long stretches where no one understands you, where your vision sounds ridiculous, where your confidence feels offensive. Good. That friction is proof you are no longer operating at their frequency. You are not meant to be understood by everyone. You are meant to be effective. This is another lie realism teaches, that harmony is the goal, that fitting in is success. But nothing that matters comes from consensus. Consensus is the language of stagnation. The delusional man accepts conflict as collateral damage. He does not seek it, but he does not avoid it. He understands that any serious deviation from the norm triggers immune responses. The system defends itself. When you start breaking patterns, you become a threat not because you attack anyone, but because you expose what is possible. Your existence becomes an accusation. This is why people will try to pull you back. Not always aggressively, often subtly. They will joke, they will express concern, they will remind you of who you used to be. They are not trying to hurt you. They are trying to protect the version of reality where their choices make sense. And this is where resolve is tested, because it is easier to disappoint yourself quietly than to disappoint others loudly. But every time you choose their comfort over your calling, the internal split deepens. Integrity is alignment between belief and action, and misalignment is agony. The delusional man eliminates the split. He becomes singular.
The
This
Eurasian
does not
wolf
mean
faces
reckless
the full
emotion.
fury of the
It means
blizzard,
ruthless
a testament
clarity.
to its enduring
He
survival
knows
instinct.
what he is building, and everything else becomes secondary. This clarity sharpens suffering into something useful. Pain without purpose is trauma. Pain with purpose is training. The difference is interpretation. The realist interprets hardship as a signal to retreat. The delusional man interprets it as confirmation he is on the correct path. Resistance becomes data. Failure becomes feedback. Loss becomes tuition. This is why setbacks do not break him, they concentrate him. Every hit strips away fantasy. Every mistake refines execution. He is not protected from pain. He is metabolizing it. And over time, something shifts. What once felt impossible becomes routine. What once required willpower becomes automatic. The identity stabilizes. This is the phase most people never reach because it requires enduring the awkward middle. The phase where you are no longer who you were, but not yet who you will be. Where results lag behind effort. Where belief is ahead of proof. This is where realists quit because without external validation, they collapse. But the delusional man understands something critical. Validation is delayed. Reality always lags behind conviction. The world resists new patterns until it has no choice but to accept them. And when it does, the narrative flips. Suddenly, the same behaviors that were mocked become admired. The same confidence that was called arrogance becomes leadership. The same obsession becomes work ethic. Nothing changed except the scoreboard. This is the brutal irony. People don't oppose what you do. They oppose what you do before it works. Once it works, they pretend they always believed. The delusional man never forgets this. It inoculates him against praise and criticism alike, because both are reactive, and he is proactive. He is not moving toward applause. He is moving toward alignment. And alignment produces a quiet certainty that no external opinion can touch. This is not motivation. This is inevitability. When identity, belief, and behavior collapse into one direction, momentum becomes unstoppable. And from the outside, it looks like luck.